I can't see Lily. I'm sure she's in.
Good evening. We are delighted to welcome you this evening to this very special Erev Shabbat service celebrating 90 years of this amazing community. 90 years ago this evening, on the 16th of June 1933, Alyth held its very first service. So this evening we celebrate that moment and the community that came out of it, this extraordinary community that the founders created, passed on to following generations, and passed on to us. Through the course of this evening, we're going to have some readings. I'm delighted to invite Millie and Jonah to come and read for us from the minutes, the very first minutes of the Alyth community.
From the minutes of a meeting held at 17 Templars Avenue on the 24th of May 1933. Following a long discussion, it was resolved to formally proclaim the formation of the congregation, that the Hebrew name of the congregation be Sha'arei Tzedek, the English name to be left in abeyance, to enlist as much support as possible before the next meeting on the 12th of June.
From the minutes of a meeting held at 17 Templars Avenue, 12th of June 1933. On the proposition of the chairman, it was unanimously resolved to proceed with the formation of the congregation. Rabbi Starrells proposed that the congregation immediately start Sabbath Eve services, and it was resolved that the first service be held on the 16th of June, Mr. Silbert kindly offering the use of his home for the purpose.
90 years to the day since the first service, we begin our service as they would have done, with the words of Matovu.
In the first years of this community's life, one of their priorities was to create a physical home in which to pray and learn and live together. This building in which we currently meet was consecrated in 1936. It was consecrated in a service which included a prayer of dedication, one that we will read again together this evening, led in it by our President, John.
Josh has said, this comes from the consecration service for the Alyth building, 12th of July 1936. For worship in prayer and song, for the preservation of Jewish tradition, for the gladness and hope which service brings.
We dedicate this house.
For the study of the Torah, for the enlightenment of vision, for the hallowing of our daily tasks.
We dedicate this house.
For the promotion of righteousness and the building of character, for the broadening of sympathy, for the active expression of fellowship with the needy.
We dedicate this house.
For the comfort of those who mourn, for the strength of those who suffer and are disappointed, for the help of all who yearn for God's grace.
We dedicate this house.
For the guidance and protection of childhood, for the instruction and inspiration of youth, for the joyous fellowship of young and old.
We dedicate this house.
For the establishment of justice, for the removal of suspicion, greed and fear, for the fostering of peace, and for the building up of God's kingdom on earth.
We dedicate this house.
We, the people of this synagogue and congregation, grateful for the heritage transmitted to us, mindful of the steadfastness, the sacrifices, the devotion of unnumbered generations of the children of Israel, offer ourselves anew to the worship of God and the service of humankind. In memory of those who have gone before, and for the blessing of those who shall come after, we dedicate this house in the name of the one eternal God.
Amen. We reaffirm the commitments made by our predecessors in this community with this Kabbalat Shabbat. We rededicate ourselves to the promotion of righteousness and the harvest of light that our righteousness can produce.
We rededicate ourselves to the instruction and inspiration of youth, to singing the songs of our tradition, to the melodies of our time.
Say freedom. We shall bring it to the service of Jewish tradition. For us, tradition is a living and therefore a growing and changing reality. There is no conflict between tradition and truth. We hold fast the ancestral faith, but we speak its truth in the language of our time. Because we speak that language, many have returned to us who are estranged from Judaism. And if we continue to speak it with courage and consistency, there are hundreds of others whom we can bring back to a living relationship with Judaism. To do that is the first and highest of our obligations.
We rededicate ourselves to worship in prayer and song, so central to the life of this community.
Zamru Adonai.
We rededicate ourselves to creating a space of safety, a place in which we can bring our deepest fears and share our greatest joys, a place in which we can face the challenges of our world. In the language of the 1930s, a place for the help of all who yearn for God's grace.
From the words of Rabbi Werner van der Zyl almost 70 years ago. Ours is a testing time for religious values. Fundamental roots of age-long spiritual security are loosened, and instability and insecurity are the bleak consequences of a fearful humanity. Under such circumstances, a synagogue has to establish as far as possible, by its spiritual guidance, by its active fellowship, by its care for the individual, a spiritual sanctuary for those who are bewildered by the course of events and tossed about in the ocean of confusion and conflicting conceptions of the day. A synagogue must indeed be a mikdash ma'at, a small sanctuary of spiritual security.
We rededicate ourselves to the gladness and hope which service brings, singing together the words that have been above our ark since the 1950s, serve God with joy.
One of the extraordinary things about this community is that those words that John read for us resonate so strongly nearly 90 years later. But in each generation, we have to reaffirm our commitment to making a community that reflects those ambitions. So let's make that commitment together. We, the people of this community, offer ourselves anew to the worship of God and the service of humankind. Among the commitments made was the preservation of Jewish tradition. Our predecessors dedicated themselves to that, and so do we. So I'm going to invite anyone in this room who is a former chair of Alyth. Some of you know this is coming, some of you don't. But if you're a former chair of Alyth, who has dedicated time, or a current chair, indeed, or who's dedicated time to the preservation of Jewish tradition, I'd like to invite you to come and light our Shabbat candles with us. And both here and at home, I'd like to invite you to rise. So led by our chairs, let's say the blessing together. Baruch
atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu ad mikneh shel Shabbat.
Amen. And as we take our seats, we extend our thanks to them and to everyone who in our generation has worked to build this community. We're turning to page 121.
Our forebears dedicated this community to the comfort of those who mourn. Together, we wish for those who come to this Shabbat in mourning the traditional words of consolation. Hamakom yinachem etchem, b'toch sha'ar ha'avelim. May the ever-present comfort you, together with all those who mourn.
On page 124, we sing together Psalm 92. Alei higayon bechinor, ki simachtani Aronai befo alecha, b'maaseh yadecha aranein. Ma gadlu ma'asecha Aronai, me'odam ku machshavotecha. Ish ba'al lo yida, u'chsil lo yavin etzot. Nifroach r'sha'im kamo Esav, v'yatzitu kol polei aven, v'hisham dam adei ad. V'atam arom le'olam Adonai, ki hinei oivecha Adonai. Ki hinei oivecha yovedu, yitpadu kol polei aven. V'tarem kirem kani beloti b'shemen ra'anan. V'tabeit eni b'shurai, v'kamim alayim re'im, tishmana oznai.
Be
we prepare to rise as a community for the words of Baruch Hu, we take a moment to see one another, to recognize that each of us has had a different and unique journey to Alyth life, and that we are united by our shared love of this community.
If you are able, we will invite you to stand both here and at home as we name the decade in which you first came to this community, as a guest, as a member, or as a baby. If you first came to Alyth in the 1930s, please rise.
If you first came to Alyth in the 1940s, please rise.
If you first came to Alyth in the 1950s, please rise.
If you first came to Alyth in the 1960s, please rise.
If you first came to Alyth in the 1970s, please rise.
And stay standing. We're going to
Yes,
stand
stay
together.
standing. If you came to Alyth in the 1980s, please rise.
It's me.
If you first came to Alyth in the 1990s, please rise.
If you first came to Alyth in the 2000s, please rise.
If you first came to Alyth in the 2010s, please rise.
And if you first came to Alyth either online or in person in the 2020s, please rise.
Standing together, we turn to page 127.
And please take your seats as we read together on page 128. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv arabim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, u'bitvuna b'shanei itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'mesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakiat yirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, hama'avir yom u'mevi layla, u'mavdil ben yom u'ben layla, Adonai Tzebaot Shemo, Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. With everlasting love have you loved your people, the family of Israel. Teaching and practice, duty and justice, these you have taught us. Therefore, our God and guide, we think upon all this before we sleep and when we wake, and rejoice and delight in your teaching and its practice forever and ever. For they are our life and the measure of our days. We keep them in mind both day and night. Never take your love away from us. Blessed are you, God, who loves your people, Israel. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We take some time to read the second paragraph of the Shema to ourselves, and we'll join back together on page 134. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, Da'eh el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem, ve'asu lahem tzitzit, al kanfei bigdeihem ledorotam, ve'natnu al tzitzit haganav betil techelet, ve'hayah זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים.
Emet ve'emunah kol zot v'kayam aleinu. Ki hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'en zu latov v'anachnu Yisrael amo. Ha'oseh gedolot adein cheker v'niflaot adein mispar. V'ra'u v'anav gvurato. Shibuchu v'chodu lishmo. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם. משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם. ונאמר, כי יפדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
When our forebears built this community, they did so very firmly against the backdrop of war and of persecution. And the community that they sought to build and the community that they passed on to us was one based on the opposite. A community dedicated to building trust, to fostering peace, to providing care and shelter for those who need it. In its 90 years, this community has lived through times of war and distress, has campaigned for those in need and gone out to look after them. It has been a source of support and comfort through difficult times. And for us, just over the last few years, a source of comfort and support during the extraordinary times of pandemic. This evening, we rededicate ourselves to the vision of a community dedicated to being a source of shelter and of care for those who need, with the words of Hashkivenu that you'll find on your shul sheets.
Hashkivenu
Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al amo Yisrael, v'al kol ha'olam.
We are at the top of page 137. Please rise.
Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor VaHanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Gonei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, U'mevig Go'el Livnei B'neihem, Lema'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bokei Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Meitim Atarav L'Hoshia, Morid Atah, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayei Meitim B'Rachamim Ramim, Tzomech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato L'Shenei Afar, Michamocha B'Kevorot, U'Midol Melach, Melech Meimit U'Mechayem, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman Atah L'Chayot Meitim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayei HaMeitim. Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, V'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yehalelucha Selah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We continue our Amidah individually, coming back together midway down page 148.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim
Baruch atah Adonai, hamavarech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. Blessed are you, God, blessing your people Israel with peace.
And please take your seats. In their consecration of this building, our forebears committed to creating a place of strength for those who suffer. We follow their example in taking a moment to think of those in need of our support and care at this time. As a community, we commit to being a source of strength for them and for those who care for them. Baruch atah Adonai, makor refuah. Blessed are you, God, the source of healing. Say shalom bimroma, say shalom aleinu. Say shalom bimroma, say shalom aleinu. Say shalom bimroma, say shalom. Shalom bimroma, say shalom aleinu. Say shalom bimroma, say shalom aleinu. Say shalom bimroma, say shalom aleinu. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
We're rising together and turning to page 310 for the words of the Aleinu.
Aleinu
לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נותן
עכשיו יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס תהילתו, כך כתוב בתורתו. וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו.
And on page 313. על כן נקווה לך, אדוני אלוהינו, לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, להביא גאולים מן הארץ, והעלים קרות שכרתון, לתקן עולם במלכות שדי, וכל בני בשר יקראו בשמך, להפנות אליך כל ראשי הארץ, יכירו וידעו כל יושבי תבל, כי שותפים כולנו בתיקון עולמך, כי המלכות שלך היא, ולעולמי עד תמלוך בכבוד, כך כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. נאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה
We turn together to page 316 and prepare to sanctify the name of God with the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. As we do so, we are reminded of why community is so very important to us. That we have others to stand with and be with in our times of pain and of loss. And on this Shabbat, we mourn the deaths of Ilya Gerson, of Anthony Littman, of Stanley Clinton Davis, and of Connie Stanton. And we join together with others in the Jewish world in mourning the death of Ben Helfgott. We pray that God will be a source of comfort to all who mourn for them. We stand too with those in our community in the Shloshim and the Shana, the period since the loss of a loved one. And together we remember those who died at this time in years past. We remember this Shabbat, Gustav Arnold, Fiona Avner, Vanda Burdach, Caroline Barkley, Charles Butchoff, Joseph Crown, Sadie Davis, Joseph Field, Peter Geyer, Richard Gelbhart, Leonard Guilford, Faye Gold, Sheila Goodman, Gretel Greenwood, Michael Gutman, Len Harris, Constance Hutchinson, Elizabeth Kay, David King, Lily Langleben, James Levy, Raymond Lipman, Mazel Murad, David Papier, Wolf Peterman, Sylvia Phillips, Ira Robbins, Esther Rose, Irvin Rosenthal, Paul Schneiderman, Stephen Sewell, Maxwell Simon, Lois Simon, Rabbi Uriel Smith, Samuel Smith, David Tapper, Phoebe Tobe, and Jeffrey Wilson. Zichronam Livracha, may their memory be for a blessing. In loving memory, we invite all those in our community who come to this Shabbat in mourning to lead their community in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי
שמי רבה מברך לעולם לעמי עלמיה.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדה ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל בחתה ושירתה. תשבחתה ונחמתה. דיאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל העולם, ואמרו amen. And please take your seats. What I want to say, I think what I want to say more than anything else is thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us, even though it's incredibly hot in here. But when I say thank you for being here, I don't just mean thank you for being here. I mean thank you for being here, for being part of this extraordinary community. Alyth is very much a community that is worth celebrating. And when we have opportunities like this 90th anniversary weekend, we should take them, because there are not a lot of communities in the world like this one, and we should cherish them as much as we can. So we're going to keep cherishing Alyth over this weekend. After the service, after Kiddush, we invite you to stay with us. We're going to go from this very hot room to that very hot forecourt, where we are going to have something to drink and to eat together. Katie and Jordan are going to provide us with some music, some jazz, so that we can have a nice evening of celebration together. So please do stay after the service to do that with us. Then tomorrow morning we have a special shiur looking at some of the archives of this community, followed by a couple of services, including back for 1 week only, a special Big Bang to celebrate Alyth 90. And then on Sunday, we have a special concert which celebrates our choral traditions, in particular with our synagogue choir, but also with special guest choirs as well, so we can celebrate that part of the last 90 years of Alyth life. So please do be with us over this weekend as we celebrate together. We are going to go out from here after Kiddush. Just a little word about that. The first thing to say is please go quickly. Second thing is we're serving pizza. We've done the world's largest pizza order. But there is gluten-free and dairy-free pizza available. So if you need it, please ask one of the waiting staff for that. If you don't need it, please leave it for people who do need it. And we are trusting you now. On the hoardings as you came in, you will have seen 2 huge white empty boards together with the pictures of the building. On those 2 white empty boards is a space for you to write messages. So please do take the opportunity to write some messages to Alyth on its 90th birthday. One last thing, I'm really sorry, but there are lots of announcements. One last thing, which is as we're out on the forecourt, you're going to be able to go closer to the building work than we've been able to do at any point during the building work, so you can come round to have a look. This is a personal plea for me. If you have not helped us in the building of our new building and are able to, then this is your community to build. I am stepping away from here in a few months' time, but I really, genuinely, honestly believe that building that building is the next stage in this community's life and incredibly important in the continuing renewal of this community. Being able to have a building that is really fit for purpose to enable us to continue to flourish and grow is hugely important. So if you are able to help, please do so. We are going to sing together the words of Psalm 133, celebrating the dedication of this community to the joy of being young and old together. As we do so, I invite some sensible people to give out or them, to give out grape juice and wine. In name We need you to sing with us.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day. In name Atov, Umanayim, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. In name Atov, Umanayim, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. Let's rise together for Kiddush on page
452. Vayechulu hashamayim va'aretz v'chol tzva'am Vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i Malachto asher asa Vayishpot bayom hashvi'i Mikol malachto asher asa Vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i Vayikadesh oto Ki vo Shabbat mikol malachto Asher bara Elohim la'asot Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei peri hagafen Amen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu V'shabbat kodsho Yahava uvratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh Zecher liksiat Mitzrayim Ki banu v'chata Ve'otanu kidashta Mikol ha'amim V'shabbat kodshecha V'yahava uvratzon hinchatanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
L'chaim.
And before we make a motzi, let's just take a moment to wave hello to everyone who's on Zoom at home and wish them a Shabbat Shalom
Shabbat Shalom.
as we make a motzi together with them.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. No pizza for us then.
We can save the extra calories.
Absolutely.